Hello, and thanks for joining us on episode 18 of the Edinburgh Northern Cockerel cast. This episode, we're joined by a stalwart of the Northern front row in recent times. Indeed, he has been named by all of our previous front row guests in their favourite combinations. A keen tourist with the club, so much so that he plays a heavy role in organising the tours and punishing tour virgins. Currently a fellow furlougher and using his extra time to grow out his best Hamish Watson impression, it's Dougie Candlish. Welcome, Doug. How are you?
Good, mate. I'm good. How are you two?
Very well, Tat.
We're wonderful. Thanks very much. So first things first, as a man in the trade, what have you got to drink with us tonight, Dougie?
It's already decanted, but I've got what's called a Hawk, Wind and Fire from Amundsen. So it's a coconut chocolate mud cake ultra pastry stout.
Very nice.
Bit of a hard thing to say, but yeah, thick, fucking tasty beer.
Excellent. And yourself, Jason?
Partly due to the company. I've got whiskey sours, but mainly because someone gifted me a bottle of whiskey recently, and the only way I could make it palatable was mixing it with lemon juice, sugar, and an egg white. Cheers.
Are you saying your birthday present wasn't palatable?
It took a while to go down first time, yeah.
What whiskey was it?
It's the Aeronaut from the Isla distillery. Yeah, it said on Facebook it was the perfect gift for Father's Day, and Jason's birthday is quite close to Father's Day, so I kind of combined the two. So you can save it for whenever I pop out, Jason. It's fine, I'll drink it.
For yourself, was it, Michael?
Well, it would be if I ever got invited round. So not really.
There's this thing called lockdown happening.
That's true. That's very true. So I've got a cold Riki, which is a staple of the Dagda, and I also have a gin and diet tonic because lockdown times I have to focus on some of the personal habits a bit more.
Well, so as we mentioned, lockdown, Dougie, how's it treating you?
Not too bad, I guess. So working in the beer industry with distribution and part-time in a pub, both those jobs I've been furloughed from, so not much going on at home. Thankfully bought an Xbox in the first week of lockdown, so that's been occupying my time mostly. Been getting out doing a bit of cycling, but yeah, if I'm fine. The knee's not great at the moment, so trying to take it easy on that as well.
Sure.
What have you been playing your Xbox, Dougie?
It came with Forza Horizon 4, so I toured through that, toured through the Batman games. I'm now trying to get some skills in Warfare, Call of Duty, Warzone, sorry, yeah. But I'm pretty gash, to be honest.
I can say from experience it takes about a good 60 hours of time on that to actually become any good at it.
I've got plenty of time on my hands to get it.
Fantastic. So we'll move into the body of the interview now. So do you want to tell us a bit about your backstory, where you're from? You obviously talked about your work a bit there.
Yeah, so from Galloway down Newton Stewart, so very southwest of Scotland. I moved up to Edinburgh for uni, dropped out of that, and been working in bars or the drink industry since. From bar work, I've moved into drinks distribution, working for a company called New Wave, distributing craft beers all over Scotland and the north of England as well. But yeah, that's it. And then, yeah, just waiting to get back to work. I don't think I've ever been so keen to be working again.
Fair enough, yeah. I take it you don't deliver many of these beers, craft beers, to John Latham's residence?
No, I've never had the call, shockingly. I mean, I'm sure he'd love it. Like, I mean, as I said, coconut chocolate, ultra pastry stout, sounds right up his alleyway, like.
Oh, I have mental images of John looking at that can and just chucking it back at you as you dropped it through the door. Like,
I'd take it back.
Good stuff. So on to rugby then. When did you first sort of pick up the ball and talk us through any previous clubs?
Yeah, so I didn't start playing rugby until 2003, my last year of high school. Where I'm from, rugby is the main sport, but I just never had an interest in it. I was always a wee bit of a football wanker back in the day. And then I think it was kind of to do with the World Cup that year. I got a bit of an interest with it. So I joined school, which was a solid 3 games we played over that whole year. So yeah, not much going on. And then once I turned 18, I joined the local club, Newton Stewart, and had a good few seasons with them, mainly with the 2s, the odd stint with the 1s. And yeah, that was pretty much it before moving up to Edinburgh.
Right.
Fantastic. And you talked to me about being a football kid. Do you still have the same passion for football that you once had, or have you changed?
I think I've probably got the same level of passion. It's just in the opposite direction there.
Excellent.
Yeah. No interest in football whatsoever.
Yeah. I was also interested to know that your gateway into rugby was the 2003 World Cup, which England obviously won.
Yeah.
That's yeah, in fact. You can't refute it. So you've talked about moving to Edinburgh, for uni and stuff. How did you learn about the best club ever, and when did you join?
So it was during my days working in one of Edinburgh's finest night establishments. It used to be called Lava Ignite, but it's better known as CAV. Mr. Jason Thompson worked there for a while via contact with me and the guy who introduced me, Ali Scott. So he brought me down in 2009. Since I moved up to Edinburgh in 2006 and just was keen to play rugby, but just couldn't be bothered to go out of not being in a pub to go find a sport to play. So yeah, speaking with Ali while he was working as a doorman there, he said, come down, join this club, see what you think. First day down, bumped into local Doonhamer, Tom Simpson. So knowing him there, knowing Ali there, and then just how welcoming everyone was, stuck around. So that was, this is the 11th season with me playing.
Yeah,
a fair shift. So I'm a fair shift to the mass there. What were your first impressions of Northern? Your early memories.
Great big social scene. Lots of banter, lots of fun. Took the rugby seriously, but the beers afterwards just as much. And yeah, just very friendly, welcoming. Like as soon as I walked into the bunker, everyone was there welcoming. Bit questionable when you met the captain at the time, which was Hobo Jarve, but yeah. Played many a 2s games at the start along with Mr. Thompson. Saw him getting a few scrapes. And then, gradually moved up to the 1s. Stampy moving out of the way helped give that space up to me.
Fair play. So that's over a decade now under the belt. What then, Dougie, would you say is Northern's unique selling point, if you had to pinpoint one or two?
The unique selling point has to be like the bunker itself and what happens when you walk in those doors. Just how friendly everyone is, the camaraderie, the events that happen there. Like there's stories from that place that will be told for decades to come. And then apart from that, it has to be tours. The rugby tours are just unreal. Been on 9 straight now. Should have been 10, but this one. So obviously COVID's messed that up, but tours are brilliant. I think everyone who comes down the club should at least tour once just to get that experience, and that's bonds that are with you forever.
Yeah.
So that's it. I think we can both definitely agree with that. So obviously, we'll talk about touring a bit later on, and I'm looking forward to some of the recollections that you might have from touring with Northern and nights out as well. But we are a rugby club first and foremost. Yeah. So do you have any kind of favourite kind of memories of playing for Northern? So that could be games, seasons, tournaments. I know you played a big part in some sevens tournaments on the year, and you might want to bring up. So fire away.
Got a couple of it's kind of coin toss between favourite season for me. I think the one where we won the league and got the promotion, great year. Enjoyed the first part of it, and then was off injured for the second part, so wasn't really there to celebrate it. And then even last year's season, I thought we had a brilliant season. Unfortunate to finish where we did, but really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed just getting stuck in and seeing what we can actually do when we put everything in practice. Apart from that, games wise, this season we had a great. Well, I believe we lost it, but we went down to Galway YM at the start of the season, and as far as the game goes, it wasn't great, but the front row had a great 10-minute stint. The replacement hooker came on, just being a mighty gobshite, just giving it a lick. And I think within 10 minutes, we'd marched that scrum back 7 different times and just absolutely destroyed them. Victory-wise, winning games, they all come hand in hand. Every win's a win, every loss is a loss. Still just happy to be playing rugby. But winning the East Regional Bowl last year, just great night, great day, big celebrations, and just we all stuck in together on the game. It was great.
I think you talked about Galway in there. I think that was actually Earlston that you're talking about.
No, it was Galway.
Is it? So the game that
it was a game where Boom Boom had more time off the field than on the field due to all his cramps and his 10-minute sin bin.
I thought you were going to talk about it being remembered for something else, which
no, I wasn't at that game. I was away at a wedding.
That was away, sorry? Oh, in Eden. Yeah, no. Obviously, the next element as well is with rugby is a back is the tries, and I've seen you score a fair few tries. Do you have a favourite try from your time with the club, or maybe ones that someone else has scored?
Tries wise, I'm sure there's a man involved in Northern that hasn't heard about the dugstep of Bournemouth Sevens, but I'd say that has to be a solid number one try for me. Just playing a game of sevens, not in my stature, is not really something that happens, but when you're making a break and you look outside to pass to the winger and it's Stu Jurassic, where it firmly stated in the book, the tour book, not to pass to him or you'll be fined. Do a show and go and just fucking trundle over the boy, run up to the line and sub yourself off. Does pretty well. Apart from that, I got a good try again down at Galway YM. It was the weekend on my 30th birthday, and with you and Sterling coming in as scrum half, I managed to bend his ear a bit and be like, "This next ruck, I'm coming blind, just pop it to me." And I managed to dip over in the corner for a beautiful 2-metre trundle. And then as far as assists go, it has to be last year playing against the French tour inside the Sioux box with a little 5-metre charge from me out the back to Spills to not over. Yeah.
Well done, a good few then. 2-metre trundle, it almost sounds like some of Michael's tries. A 2-metre trundle sounds like some of Michael's tries.
Well, that's it.
Mine had solid hands and had a bit of style to it. So.
Okay.
I mean, I disagree. At the end of the time, people look back and they'll see my high prolific number and not really care about the distance that they were scored from. Why run that far anyway?
Okay then. So we mentioned in my intro that you have been mentioned by by plenty of front rowers and their sort of favourite front row, or at least an honorary mention. Dougie, can you talk us through then, if you were to decide your own sort of favourite Northern front row, who might be in contention?
Yeah, like actually quite impressed and like honoured to be mentioned by all the front rows so far. For me, there's some solid boys that pitch up for the front row every week. That like Sam Shelley, Tom Horton. I think they're both very similar in their styles. Like they're both hard-running, mobile front rows, mainly hookers, but can dip in at props as well.
Okay.
We also got give a shout out for Kit, the guy who doesn't train, doesn't want to play prop, but can easily play a game for the gents and then trundle over and play a game for the ones in the front row. No bother to him. A few others. Lewis Gervin, who we sadly lost to travelling around the world, thought he was a great addition to the Northern front row, and I thought he could have done pretty well with us, but I think the life of sun, sand and drinking your way around the world suited him better. Just reading off my notes here, got a few questionable mentions for some Northerners I've packed down in the front row, with both of them being hookers, and it's yourself, Mr. Jason Thompson, and Stu Jurassic. Two very, very slender hookers, like can almost reach around the loose head prop as well. Yeah, got a few guys I want to shout out as well for being future front rows. Their time's got to be coming up pretty soon. That's Simon Hannon, Robbie Brown, and Michael Mawdsley.
Imagine that as a front row, yeah.
Considering the amount of weight that John's lost, like if we put you in the front row, it'd be a lot lighter than the three of them.
Can you imagine the ball playing skills of that front row? You'd obviously put Robbie in the middle, because I wouldn't.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's as I listed. Simon would be loose, Robbie would be hooker, and you'd be tight.
Oh. Well, I mean, it's a very often unmentioned part of my my time in Northern that I did used to play front row at school. Before I lost a lot of weight in fourth year and moved to the backs. So I reckon, I've made that claim before, and I think I got challenged out by Nick Drew that I could beat any of the front row in a scrummage straight up, and he absolutely demolished me at pre-season training one time, which was not.
I'm sure a refresher course would be fine. Yeah, just need to pick it back up again.
One of the things we've actually noticed about the pod is that we have actually had a lot of front rows on, and we've never really asked them about anyone outside their position. Are there a couple of Northerners that you'd be you've really enjoyed playing with? So backs, forwards, it's a bit of a left field question, but people who stand out for you from your time with the club over 11 seasons.
Yeah. I'll wrap up the front rows before I delve into the rest of the 15. So for me, no, you're all good. I had a big list there. It's no worries. But yeah, for me, ultimate Northern front row during my time playing, and a loose head, it has to be John Latham, preferably fat John Latham rather than skinny John Latham. But yeah, even with all his weight loss, he still holds his own, which is fucking brutal. You now just have to deal with his bony shoulders. In at hooker would be the Grand Booth, Big Jeff. And then in tight head, it has to be Stampy. Like, always tried to just challenge Stampy when I could. The boy's just a solid force. As for the rest of the park, players I thoroughly enjoyed playing tonight. Like, I mean, I've got, straight off in my head, I've got 2 second row combos, which are 2 very different pairings in stature, but both, like, they give you the support you need in the scrum, and both of them can do what they need to do in the open play as well. So the first combo would be Holland and Gollum, but the second combo, which is from back in the day, was Cahill and Ben Glasgow, which is 2 very different pairings, but like, they all four of them fulfilled their jobs pretty well. Backline wise, Alex Laird at 10, just you can't really top that. Wingers, the likes of Mike Pollock, just that boy's absolutely rapid. Yeah. And then jumping back to the pack, I think you've got to mention Loggy. He was a solid number 8. You could put McCann and Feza together, and I think you've got the best parts of Loggy there.
I'd completely. Loggy was definitely he's been mentioned a few times in the pod, like a complete force of nature. To have played alongside, the kind of I mean we'd all experienced him in the twilight of his career a wee bit, but
yeah.
Fundamentally one of the best rugby players. I think, well, possibly the best rugby player I've ever played alongside.
Yeah. Well, that's it. For a bit of a guy with a broken skeleton about him, glass knees and everything, he still trundled on and fucking wrecked the place. Same goes for Lachie Bursell as well, actually. A broken man that can just turn up and turn a game around.
Well done. So across your time, you'll have seen Northern change, mainly in appearance rather than how we approach things. But if there was one thing you'd change about Northern, what might that be?
One thing I'd change about Northern. I was pondering on this question, and I've came back with another question, which is how much does underfloor heating cost?
It's probably the only good thing that came out of any trip to Dunbar that I've been on yet. That you went out and came back in with warm feet.
I think the answer to that question. I mean, he is the engineer, stroke works in building sites, so should know the answer. Probably not too much.
Finn's been posting a lot on Instagram about underfloor heating at the moment, so I thought he could hook us up.
Yeah, no, I think given it took us the best part of 10 years to get a card machine because of the expense that was slightly involved in that, I think that's unlikely. Do you want to go for a maybe more reasonable request that my committee might actually pass?
No, I'm sticking. To be fair, I love the bunker. It's got its quirks. As I said, my only gripe is really the heating. It's grand in the summer, but even just trying to get along to watch a game during the Six Nations, we're all huddled around like one solitary heater at times. Just yeah. The showers, a few people have mentioned that. I think they're grand. The trick is just to get in and get showered before everyone else.
Exactly.
Depends if you have to take the lights in or not. That's always been my. Not that I share after training anyway. We'll take
put the lights in.
Or put the lights. Yeah, it's not my thing either. Oh god, that makes it sound dreadful. We'll take a wee bit of a tangent. We didn't explore earlier. Talking about your kind of your background. So why rugby? You came a bit late to the game, and you've obviously fallen in love with it entirely. And I know that being your friend and from what you're talking about it. So why rugby for you? I noticed the eyebrow for the friend comment there, so that's fine. I can acknowledge that. So why rugby for you? What's done it for you?
It's trying to think how to explain it. I always say when people ask the question like, "What's your one regret in life?" My response to that is always, "I wish I'd started playing rugby earlier." It's something that I'd know, like during school. I'm a broad guy, big arms, big shoulders, and was since a very young age. And growing up in a rugby school, a lot of people always said, "Come play rugby," and I was just like, nah. I just had no interest in it. It wasn't a sport I was bothered by. And then, as I said, it was 2003 World Cup. I don't know if it's because England actually winning it or just it was the right time, right moment for the World Cup hype. I was just like, I'm going to give it a shot. Why not? And yeah, even though we only played 3 games that year, was absolutely hooked. It did help. Our first game was against Hamilton and we won 58-0. But yeah, it was just a solid kind of, it's a sport I've grown to absolutely love and enjoy just going out there. back when it started, it was a flanker, and it was all about cutting about the park, making the tackles, and just the collisions from that. Now that I'm a prop, I'm more focused on the ball carrying and the scrumming, but just love it as much. Just getting out and just getting the aggression out in a nice controlled manner, unless you're Jason Thompson, works pretty well. And then just the camaraderie of it, like just the social side, absolutely love it. I've got a lot of mates who play football, and like the chat they come back with after their games, like you don't even like. It's basically you play a game, you get changed, and you disappear, like Dalkeith do, but that's the norm for them.
I can attest, actually, talking about Jason's aggression, to you being fairly aggressive to me on the pitch at points in the middle of games, particularly in the last season.
Strong encouragement.
Yeah, that's one way to describe it. I feel the threats of physical violence at your own fly half are never particularly well received by them. But yeah, no, and I think those are actually, they're definitely some of the reasons why I play the game. I know Jason plays it because he's slightly masochistic. Enjoys a bit of punishment. But I completely agree about the aggression and the social side. I think it's.
I've had from days working at bars where afterward, like you do a day shift and you've just got rage inside by some of the people you've served. Training session on, you find out it's full contact. No better feeling in the world.
Quite right. And segueing from sort of working in bars, then you've been on plenty of our nights out, Dougie. Is there a favourite one that you remember or event that we've hosted?
Too many to mention, to be honest. Going back like over the last 11 years, we've got there's players' dinners, I can remember club dinners, burn suckers, Christmas parties, like everything's got some memories and some blank spaces as well with it. A few just kind of standout moments, I think, were when we were asked to leave our sponsor pub at the time, Malone's, because we were doing line out lifting in the dance floor. Always questionable. And then many a memory of Gary Baldy's. They kind of all blur into one. But for me, the night that stands out the most for Northern has to be the flat warming of the Cockerel's nest. A flat shared by me and two other Northerners at the time on Queen Street. I think that's the biggest party I've ever hosted in a flat. I think there was over 50 people there. Great night.
We know some stuff about that flat party. We won't repeat. Particularly about
plenty that shouldn't be repeated from that flat party.
I'm quite interested to pursue. You mentioned blank spaces there. Things you maybe chose to forget or things you actually forgot. I have a distinct memory of, I think it was the players' dinner, was it last year or 2 years ago? When Simon Byrne, professional athlete, joined us, and you challenged him from the back of the room to various necking of bottles of wine and pints.
I remember that.
You remember that one? That's good.
I tinned a bottle of wine as he stood up for his speech. That was more because pre-dinner chat, and he's a great lad, had a good chat with him, and then he said that he might consider coming down and seeing if he could get a few games for Northern. So I told him if he wants to come and try and take the tight head spot, I'll take a step outside with me. Yeah, it's a good lad, good bit of banter from
him. No, I do remember that very, very vividly. It's interesting you've talked there about challenging people to fights. So we're going to move on to tours here.
I've got my list for tour events here as well.
Excellent.
Well, I've got a few listed out here, but you start it, and then I'll finish whatever ones you've missed out.
As has been the case here. No, it was just a tangent. I was going to say, we've fallen out on our fair share of tours, but you're obviously a very seasoned tourist, so those may be memories that you want to bring back here. But do you have any particularly favourite memories of tour from your time at Northern? I noticed the giant coat hanger of tour tops behind you, which is a medal of honour or a badge of honour, I feel. So your favourite memories of tour?
Yeah, I'm gonna when it came to tours, I was like, I can't miss out any tour, so I kind of just listed off each tour as you go and the kind of highlights from it. So we'll start off Budapest 2011. That was my first tour. Numbers were a mass. I think it was like 30 to 40 odd lads there, which really helped me as a tour virgin float under the radar. But yeah, highlights of that have to be the moment in the hostel courtyard where the judge, as he's better known, asked Danny Farnworth to come just sit on his knee and perform some tasks for him. A great laugh had by all. And then also there was the Rave Cave, which was part of the Grandio Party Hostel, which was, as much as Edinburgh's known for, it was a nightclub in a basement down in the caverns. But the Rave Cave itself was great, but it was more the morning after. I think it was about 5, 6 a.m. where I was woken up by Richard Logg, who had found me stowed away, sleeping on a sun lounger in the sun lounger cupboard, and had basically woke me up with a slap and told me to get the fuck to bed. Moving on to Sopot 2012. The keeper of the Virgins, Danny Farnworth again. The court session where he decided he was Danny LaRue and made all the tour virgins come out and take part in his drag quiz show as he had it. That was a great night. And then also the first day there, arriving at the first bar, we get to the kitty master going in, asking for a round of 20, 30 beers, however many it was. And the guys coming out being like, oh, we've got this green beer, this great green beer. And we're like, yeah, sure, we'll have that. So we all get a couple of bottles of that, and then someone looks at the label, and we've been getting fed out of 8 beers.
We don't often chime back in, Dougie, with stories about tours. We don't normally let them flow through them. But I noticed my co-host put his hand over his eyes, which I know is a tell that he maybe regrets Budapest somewhat. Jason, do you want to tell us your memory of Budapest? What did you drag up as for Danny Farnworth's parade?
That was Sopot. I just remember you mentioned the green beer. That was the colour of my face the next day. Trying to drag myself to the game and sleeping.
At least you showed up for the game. But yeah. To be fair, that was the greenest I've ever seen the shade of a man ever. To watching you on the sidelines, but at least you showed up, unlike Wilson. And just to take out of your mouth, speaking of Wilson, we'll segue onto the next one, Bournemouth 2013. Mm-hmm. The first memory has to be Wilson becoming Simple Jack, sitting in the back of a people carrier driving down to Bournemouth from Gatwick, enjoying a bottle of Jägermeisters to himself, and then arriving at the campsite, teaching Hardman how to put up the tent by telling him he's got to hang the tent first before putting the poles in. And then skip to a few days later, the Sunday of the tour, we'd managed to tactically knock ourselves out of the tournament so we could just enjoy some beers and watch the rugby. That's when we had been able, through the fancy dress theme of, I think it was Famous Scots, through the fancy dress costumes from the Saturday night, we'd been able to fashion a costume for Wilson, aka Simple Jack, consisting of Jason's groundskeeper Wally dungarees and my Rabsy Nesbitt string vest, and set him about the arena where he happened upon a lady who's now known affectionately as Simple Jill, and just two very, very drunk people connecting, communicating with each other just through drunken slurs and incoherent words. A great tour. And then on to Hamburg 14. It was already been tapped on a few times, but the Watermelon Dance from Wilson has to be a solid mention, along with the first time I discovered Drew Chapman's talent for falling asleep, waking up, taking a drink and falling asleep. So he'd be standing or sitting and he'd have his pint, he'd doze off, and he'd wake up and go, and then just fall asleep again. First time I've noticed it, and I've noticed it ever since. So that's 6 years he's been continuing that tradition.
Yeah. I was actually, to not interrupt your story again, sorry, but
no, you're right.
I'm going to. I actually wore my Hamburg top in memory of that, because that was my first tour. I remember you distinctly on that tour. No, I think
you might remember me distinctly because I was keeper of the Virgins, but it didn't help that some of the Virgins might have been best pals with the tour captain.
I mean, the tour captain is here to respond to that. I don't feel that myself and another nameless tourist.
Paul Holland.
Yeah, well, I was trying to remember his tour name, but I can't remember fast enough. Magnum, along with Jessica Fletcher and myself, were protected by the tour captain. I feel. What are your memories of that tour, Jason?
Yeah, very good tour. Really enjoy it. What was was it Holland chipped through on the pitch?
No, that was myself. I chipped through to myself. No, Paul chipped through to me.
That'll do, and then actually not getting anywhere near the ball.
That was also I remember that was the night after. I think Dougie actually, because I was trying to remember who it was who encouraged me to sofa dive, and you stood in front of me when I was standing on top of the sofa, carried away with myself at the age of 21, and you're like, if you sofa dive, I'll catch you. And I was like, oh, he'll catch me. I can trust Dougie.
This is bar diving off the bar.
Yeah, well, whatever it was, the high object I jumped off, you were like, I'll catch you. I promise I'll catch you. And you didn't catch me. And I'm convinced I broke my foot for an hour.
I only catch second rows, mate. Sorry.
Excellent.
Wait, did Jason not do the same jump, though?
Yeah, he's like 5'3". Like, he's springing.
I think the whole team ran to catch him as well.
At that point, I should have known my days were numbered, eh?
Northern. Well, I think that's why I've always had a bit of I wouldn't say it's a hatred, just I like to noise you up whenever I can. I think it's came from that day where you, JT and Holland decided to go off gallivanting by yourselves for a day instead of joining us. Fair enough, you did bring back the Watermelon, which played good stead in the rest of the tour, but I didn't get to punish you as harshly as I wanted to for self-touring.
Save it up.
Oh, I have been. When you next coming on tour?
When Jason does.
And then, moving on to the next tour, we've got Santander in Bilbao. That was 2015. First night of that, I managed to get lost. The day later, I managed to find out I got lost by standing outside of the Guggenheim. Discovered that as we arrived there for some drinks. But got so lost that I was wandering around. A police car pulled up, and they were very kind to help me back to the hostel. And then also, while still in Bilbao, I feel like not much happened once we got to Santander. But in Bilbao, there's also the night of a certain tourist misbehaving in court and being chaperoned back to his room by Mr. John Walsh, followed by me restraining him in his bed. Then we move on to Bucharest 2015.
I was actually going to pause you there, Dougie. Jason has received a question. Before we go into Bucharest, we were talking about how we spent the afternoon outside the Guggenheim, which might have been Northern's first ever appreciation of art on tour. And Jason has a question from I'll let him lead into it.
I think, was this not the Budapest tour? Tour, no?
No, Bucharest, that's what Dougie's leading into. That's why we're...
Right to go into Bucharest, yes.
Yeah, so we've had a question about art from the Museum of Art from Bucharest.
Yeah, let me find it. So it's actually from Ian RFC on Sec, who says we recently received a request from the Bucharest School of Art. One of their students took a photo of both of you in a local park, which has recently been voted as best art piece of the decade.
I'd even forgotten about that.
Would both of you like to travel over for the award presentation, they ask?
Yeah, I'd be happy to do it. Is there going to be a recreational ceremony of the picture?
Obviously, I mean, I'd quite like to go for the award ceremony because I might actually get the medal I won for beating Dougie in a sumo wrestling contest.
I still remember before that, the first question I asked Chappers, who was judge, was, "Can I punch him?" And he just went, "It's sumo wrestling." I was like, I also blame that on my consistent shoulder injury for the last 4 years from that pylon, where there's the video of the last person to jump on top of me was Boom Boom. You just heard my squeal, and that was me shoulder fucked 4 years later.
Yeah, no, it wasn't
a good segue from that, though. Obviously, that was an entertaining court punishment of some sumo wrestling by two large Northerners who weren't as large in the day, myself included. Was a bit lighter then. But yeah, Pikey beat me. But the reason that came about was because on the first evening of Bucharest, in a bar waiting for some food to be arrived, a steak knife may have been waved in my direction by an aggressive young tourist.
I was really hungry. you were annoying me.
You may have been really hungry, but I was really drunk and angry. So words were had.
It was.
Yeah, moving swiftly on from no one wants to hear about mine and Michael's disagreements on tour, which have been put to bed since split. It's not happened since. Other mentions from Bucharest has to be the tequila salads when taking over as for the Virgins and ordering people food. Ordering the Virgins food for their lunch, and Boom Boom being very happy with his salad, forcing him to add a shot of tequila to soon turn that his opinion around on that. And then the night out, I actually think Bucharest were one of the best hosts we've ever had for a tour. It's great apart from having Quadzilla on the park, we had some good beers at the nightclub at the rugby club afterwards, and then heading into town into that nightclub where I had a dance off against their number 10. Immortal memories through photos on Facebook of it. But yeah, great time. And then you can't forget the Fermi Baths on the Sunday. Been mentioned several times already, but I've yet to find a better cure for a tour than that.
Yeah, maybe we should have the on-sec reply and let them know that as long as they sort of include a trip to the Thermae Baths, both of you will be attending that award presentation then?
Yeah, in fact, yeah. If Fermi Baths is on the card, count me in. I'll even pay for my own flight.
I'm a type bastard, so I'm going all inclusive.
Can we get all inclusive at Fermi Baths? I don't even need a hotel, just let me stay there.
Just float around for a few hours.
So yeah, on to 2017, we went to Split. This was a bit of organisation through, the committee, but through my friend, guy that used to work for me, was playing for Watsonians, but plays international for Croatia. So he hooked us up for this. So I was well known throughout their club already from my chats with Dylan Rowe, who's my mate. He's an Aussie, but he's Kiwi, Croatian international. But yeah, so organised the game there, chatting with them in the build up to the game, everything like that. They're giving us mentions of where to go. we'd organised a Friday night lights game. Just we were like, let's keep Saturday free and just enjoy ourselves. So Friday consisted of a bit of day drinking, some a bit more than others. With talk of me consuming several shots of whiskey as we walked back to the hostel to pick up a rugby kit. And then from what I gather, everyone else went off and played a game. I just had a nice little kip. So that was quite awkward and embarrassing, especially when Gollum presented me the next day with the Croatia rugby book that they'd handed over specifically for me as part of me organising the game. But yeah, the split was class. Standout point as well was just there was a handful of us on the Sunday. Well, was it Sunday? Whatever the last day was, we had we'd gone down to the harbour and we were drinking. A few of us got onto pina coladas. Came time to move back to the hostel to pick up the bags to go to the airport. A few of us got sidetracked by a few more pina coladas on the way home. Eventually flagged over a random car to get a lift back to the hostel because we were running late. They obliged, I think, through terror rather than anything else. And then at the hostel asking for a taxi to get booked, and they're like, it's going to be like half an hour before a taxi will get here. One of the staff saying he'll drive us. So we jump in his car and he starts blaring the tunes of Madonna's Like a Prayer whilst absolutely tanning along the motorway.
Anthem.
Absolute tune. Forever to this day, it will also like scare the life out of me. I was in the front seat and we were not abiding speed limit rules as we went along to the airport. Get to the airport to find out we'd arrived in plenty of time. We'd push past people in the passport queue, get a pass to meet all of you, just start having some beers because what else is there to do? As a lot of disgruntled people come up the escalator past us. But yeah, split was good. On to I feel like I'm trolling on a bit with tours, but only got 2 left to go. Warsaw in 2018. I think I mentioned that to me before. We upgraded to a much better hostel after the first night. Not going to mention why we had to upgrade the hostel. It wasn't our choice, but it definitely benefited us. And then we had, as most tours do feature these days, a scavenger hunt, which included Robbie Brown befriending a very, very urine-smelling homeless guy in the promise of he can join us for the boat race and we'd buy him a pint. And the guy stuck like a fly on shit. And then also a mention for Tom Horton, who has suffered several injuries over the year, feeling like he needed a bit of first aid treatment from a few other tourists. Ended up getting wrapped in pretty much a full roll of KT tape whilst naked. And yeah, mentionable moments. And then on to last year's tour of Budapest. So for me, that was the return 8 years later. The biggest shock was arriving back at the hostel, same hostel we'd been to in 2011, to find the same staff member, Gemma, still working there, still as friendly as ever. We acquainted her as a friend when we first arrived the first time, because she was from Edinburgh, but I think we can now say she's from Budapest more than from Edinburgh after 9 years working in a hostel. Highlights have to be Burnsy's morning reading from the tour diarist, making notes of everything that happens. He is now, well, that position is now definitely something that happens on every tour. You can't beat a bit of someone reading out what everyone got up to the night before. Impressed to see one tourist in specific managing to do a bit of multitasking whilst riding a bicycle and playing a trombone at the same time. You look confused, Michael. It happened.
Well, no, I'm not disbelieving. I just feel that sadly in this this form of communication you can't tell us, but I look forward to that story at some point.
Well, what happens in tour stays on tour, mate. I'm just giving you a highlight. This is just a recruitment video at the moment. And then, as part of the kit for going to Budapest, we got Northern branded budgie smugglers. As you can see in Jez's podcast, he was rocking them. That was because why get a t-shirt when we're going to spend all day at the Central Park baths? Turns out, though, the day we planned on going to the baths, we decided it would be better just to spend the time in the hostel drinking all of their watermelon Bacardi breezers. So, in true fashion, we adorned our correct Northern kit for tour. So we were all there in the courtyard of a hostel wearing budgie smugglers, and that's it. that wraps up the general highlights from tour.
That's been a decade of adventure, and I think we've not had that on before, Jason. I think that's been, normally everyone kind of scrimps around it and doesn't shoot straight, but I've enjoyed that thoroughly.
Very impressive.
I'm hoping it'll be a bit of recruitment so we can get up numbers, especially next year when we should hopefully be on our centenary tour. So,
quite right. So, Dougie, we've got a good few listener questions in. If you don't mind answering them, Michael can lead us through.
Might pour us more whiskey before this.
No, quite right. I'm just emptying these bottles of Heineken into a glass. So yeah, you were popular as we expected, Dougie. A well-requested guest. The first one comes from the president, so you should feel pretty privileged for that. So it's from @Edinburgh RFC president. Is your growing calf tattoo exclusively from the DC universe because they are your initials?
No, they're exclusively from the Batman universe rather than the DC universe. That's more because I'm a Batman fan than a Marvel fan. I think DC's a bit more grungy and grimy rather than la-di-da Marvel.
Okay.
Excellent. And there's a follow-up question from you as well. Who is your favourite DC Universe character and why?
I was going to say Batman, but that would be a lie. As known by, if you look at my leg, it is all the Batman villains. I'd have to say the Joker comes out on top, but you can't beat a bit of Bane either.
As comic book fans kind of, not non-comic fans kind of go, right, sound. If you're talking about obscure rugby players from the 90s, we'd be kind of like straight in there, but we were just like, nah, you're all right.
See, I'd be the other way around. I'd just be like, fuck, who's that?
Who's Kenny Logan? So, Jason, is your question next, I think?
Okay, so from @Anders_Christensen, a snake, a rake, and a cake. What order would you eat them?
Is the snake alive?
Yes.
Well, I'd eat the snake first because you don't want it fucking biting you while you're eating something else. And then you go for the rake because cake's obviously got to be dessert.
Fair enough.
That's a surprisingly concise answer from somebody who hadn't seen the question. The next one is from, I'm actually really impressed at that. That's remarkable. This is from @PeeblesVP. DCs and BCs are very similar in terms of the rural locale and fairly shallow gene pool. But why are BCs seemingly so inherently superior to DCs?
Because only a BC would think that.
That's nice.
Like, if you go DCs versus BCs, you're also chalking up the likes of Drew Chapman. So, yeah, we all know the reason behind BC, what that stands for, whereas a DC is just about Candlish. So, you do the maths on the C.
Yeah.
It's very fair, I feel. The final question, it actually came in live during this, Dougie, so you should feel yourself accredited to it. It is from an individual who is typically never punctual, as you can imagine.
Is it you?
No, I'm always punctual, apart from coming on podcast, apparently. It's from @Pilton Paul. I noticed you seem keen on England's World Cup win in 2003. Coming from the borders, do you consider yourself more English than Scottish?
Well, I need to say there has to be a leak in this podcast for a live question to chat about. And I assume that's probably Michael, or probably both of you in the same WhatsApp group. But I would also like to clarify I'm not a BC because I'm from Galloway, which is not the borders. More like closer to Jason than I am to everyone else from as a crow flies. What was the question? Does that make me inherently English? No.
No, I think the question was, are you more English than Scottish? But you've kind of answered it and summed it up well. So.
Yeah, no, I'm not. No English.
I think said listener could qualify to play for Scotland at this point.
And on the plus side, his children definitely will. So we can all enjoy that when his kids rock out in the blue. I'll be so angry. It'll be wonderful. Anyway.
I actually think his kids are going to be at Scotland rugby level.
Right, before we need to hazard a guess to that question, last one for me, Dougie. What are you most looking forward to as life and personal?
There's a few things, as I mentioned already, literally the glummest thing ever, but getting back to work. I just something that occupy my time. I've always been someone that's been fully submerged in my work, and as much as it's bar work or whatever, it's something that occupies my time. So getting back to that, but yeah, socialising, drinking, hitting the restaurants, hitting the pubs, getting back into the bunker mainly though. I believe the next season maybe chock-a-block with several events for the bunker. So hoping they all manage to go ahead once lockdown ends and we can thoroughly enjoy ourselves. So.
Right. Cheers, Dougie. Yeah. So next time on the Cockerel cast, we'll be chatting to a couple of English dogs who've settled and found love north of Hadrian's Wall. That's Andrew Suttle and current president Jacob Court. So join us for that. For now, though, I'm Jason Thompson. He's Michael Mawdsley, and thank you, Dougie, for your time. Stay safe, and we look forward to seeing how your return trip to Bucharest goes. Cheers.
Cheers.
To your health, champ.